and welcome to Widsith and
Ooh, it doesn't seem to be working.
Phonic FM 106.8. Your hosts are SB Wolfen.
Okay, that mic ain't working. We're going to have to share mics. Sorry about this. This is a Phonic FM moment. Can you come over here?
Sure thing.
We are Widsith and Dio Presents, and while we're getting ourselves sorted to the new setup, let's hope this one works, shall we? This is the medieval dance show, with any luck. Ooh, it's going to be one of those mornings, I can tell. Right, let me just try that again. And don't you just love it? This is one of those moments one is on Phonic 4, isn't it? Oop, oop. All right, might be time to tell stories instead. Because CD player ain't working and we've got no production. I'm going to hand you over to Widsith and just put her over the mic while she's doing something with the papers.
Right, hello and welcome to Widsith and Deal Present on Phonic FM 106.8. Your hosts are SV Wolfman, poet, writer, editor, myself, aka Widsith, and Matthew Hammond, the stand-up philosopher, otherwise known as Deal, who together comprise Widsith and Deal Storytelling Theatre. And we're members of the Cartwheels Collective, and the easiest way to find that is to go to cartwheels-collective.co.uk and click on Widsith and Deal. And should you wish to listen again, scroll down and click on Radio Show.
As you can tell, I found out how to do it. Okay. This is the medieval dance show, and we're going to start halfway through this Saltarello. That was Dead Can Dance, and we're still rearranging the studio to make up for the fact that we only have one mic, which is going to be very, very social up this end. The programme today is our first of our two Christmas shows. This one, we've said we're going to do secular Christmas, but also the medieval dance show, which is what we were just doing in the background. And while my good colleague Widsith is just getting herself ordered, I guess it is probably time for me to tell you one of my stories. Now, let me just turn the feedback down here, and we're off. It was a custom, a long custom in Iceland, that everyone went to church on Christmas night. Everyone, that is, except the shepherd who watched the flock up on the high bovey and the housekeeper. One time, up in Reykjavik way, down in the Vale of Reykjavik itself, a certain rich farmer required a housemaid. And he looked hither and thither to find one, and he couldn't find one at first, until a woman came by. Everybody was sure she was very pretty, for she had blonde hair and was young, but nobody could quite remember what she looked like. She said she was called Hild, and she offered to do the job, and all she wanted for payment at the end of each year was 3 brass rings. Well, the farmer couldn't believe his luck, and she settled down very nicely in the farm. She could bake beautifully, but she was strange. She was never seen to talk to anyone unnecessarily, and no one ever remembered her going to church. But she must have done, mustn't she? Came Christmas, and she didn't go to church then, certainly. But that was her job. She made a beautiful feast. But that night, up in the hills by the shepherd's bobby, there was a disaster. The old shepherd who watched the flocks by night died on Christmas night. Well, he was old, and there was no suspicious circumstances, only rabbit feet all round on the snow near him. So nobody suspected any foul play, and a new shepherd was found, and everybody got on happily. And the new shepherd was hale and hearty, and nobody thought he would die. But would you believe it? That Christmas night, the next Christmas night, he too was found dead. And people started to mutter that there must be something lurking in the hills, lurking by night, lurking and sure to get them. And some people said it was nonsense. And a new shepherd was found, and he too was hired. He was paid slightly more. And he too was found dead the next day. On Christmas Day itself. Well, now, everybody openly talked about the demons that lived in the hill and rode wild on Christmas night, and men wondered if it was the ancient hunt come back. And nobody would take the post. And the farmer offered to pay more and more and more, until at last a certain young farmer was tempted. Well, his farm had gone bankrupt, his mother had drunk all their earnings, his father was dead some time ago, he had nothing to live for, as he said, and the farmer tried to put him off and said, "I don't want to be the death of you." But the young man said, "No, it is all right. Beyond's my name, I will be your shepherd." But he didn't have a death wish, and so it was, just before he took the position, he went up to old holy Snedefell, where the wise folk lived in those days, and he went into the bobby of the wisest of them. And the wisest of them took one look at him and said, "3 tears she'll shed, and 3 rings, but stay awake if you would walk with elven kings." And the man, beyond, wondered what this doggerel meant, but he was sure of one bit at least. He decided to stay awake on Christmas Eve. Oh, it was hard, for he realised he would have to pretend at least. He'd have to pretend that he was asleep, for whatever happened would only happen if he was. And so he let the fire down, and he didn't wrap himself up in his coat, so he was cold, so cold, and he kept awake, and he kept awake, and every time he was about to sleep, he hit himself. Well, he managed it, singing little songs to himself until the early hours. And it was in the early hours he heard it, pitter-patter, 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 coming across the fresh snow, as if it was a rabbit running. And suddenly occurred to him, what was a rabbit doing out on Christmas night? Surely there would be no rabbits. And sure enough, he heard a fumbling at the lock, and, by rushlight, who do you think he saw come in? But Hild herself, and she looked terribly sad, and in her hand she had a bridle. And on the bridle, she put the bridle around the sleeping form, around his mouth, and as she put it on, a tear she shed. And when it was on, she led him, on all fours now he went, as if by some power not his own. She led him out of the bobby, and then climbed on his back and said, "Ride now, ride as if the wild hunt was after you. Ride although your heart will break. Ride into the sky, ride into the north." And he leapt into the air, and he rode across wild Iceland, across the glaciers and the mountains to the northernmost crag, where there was a deep chasm that men said went down to the very centre of the earth. And by the chasm she left him, and went inside a little cave. And he saw the rushlight going, and knew he would have to follow her. He took off the bridle as best he could. He went into the cave. He saw, by her rushlight, that she was climbing down, down the chasm at the bottom of the cave. And he went and he looked down after she had gone, and he saw that on this holy night, this night of all nights, there going down into the chasm were steps. Wild, fierce, stone steps like jagged rock. And he took them, Down he went. Down, down, down. Down beyond memory, beyond time. Down beyond rhyme, beyond reason.